Hey, hey, dude. Today we got slave owner loves his slave more than he loves his wife. Jesus Christ. Nah, I was thinking about it before I started the video. I'm like, this is how people were living, bro. Like, this is how the first light skins were ever made. Like, bro, was just looking at some big old slaves picking some cotton and was like, I mean, it's like they're my slaves, so I gotta give them something. I'm not paying them, so I might as well give them something. You feel me?
Come with us as we watch a true story of Solomon Northup. It's a difficult one and difficult to find any humor in, so it'll be less funny than usual. The movie begins with Solomon and a group of slaves being instructed on harvesting sugarcane. While they work, a man observes them while comfortably perched atop the wagon. Now, you can't tell me that man ain't gay with his fan. Yes.
What? A random comment to make, bro. But all my black people, you know what I'm saying, who like to joke and have fun about certain situations. Have you ever thought about, like, how much you would go for if you were a slave? Just, I know I'm trying to be a slave or whatever, on to something. You know what I'm saying? You never think about it, like, I'm 5'9", athletic, African. I would fetch a pretty penny. I am not gonna lie, bro.
Queen,
I'll be top
during supper, Solomon saves some berries to use as ink to write a letter. Sadly, his idea fails because the berry juice is too thin. Making him frustrated.
How do you know how to write?
He's about to.
I know I'm pausing a lot, but it's my video. Why does he know how to write?
Sleep in the crowded quarters later. One of the female slaves forces herself on Solomon. She misses her own husband because she starts to sob.
Cool.
After that, Solomon thinks about his time with his wife and kids.
Whoa.
Years before he ended up in those cramped quarters, Solomon was a free man happily living in. She misses her own husband. Sleep in their crowded quarters later. One of the female slaves forces herself on Solomon. She misses her own husband because she starts to sob. After that, Solomon thinks about his time with his wife and kids. Years before he ended up in those cramped quarters, Solomon was a free man happily living in Saratoga, New York. He was a violinist, respected and adored by people in the city.
How'd you end up a slave, bro?
Happily sees his family off. His wife is leaving to work as a cook and is taking their children with her. As he walks by the park later that day, Solomon gets introduced by his friend to two strangers named Mr. Brown and Hamilton. The two say they're planning to work for a traveling circus and want to hire him for his violin skills.
They got him, bro. A traveling circus. Dang. Got him hook, line, and sinker. Jesus.
The two men promise Solomon a large sum of money and that he'll be home when his family returns. So Solomon agrees and heads to Washington with them. Solomon later joins Brown and Hamilton to celebrate the success of their job. When he receives his pay, Solomon points out that it's larger than what he was promised. However, the men insist because they say he did an excellent job. The three start drinking to celebrate, and one of the men carefully watches Solomon as he finishes his drink. When Solomon wakes up the next day, he finds...
It's not funny, but they got him, bro. They gave him the money, gave him some food, and like, that's slavery.
Himself shackled in a jail cell. It turns out that Brown and Hamilton's true intention was to drug Solomon and sell him off. That's why you should never trust balding white men who wear hats. When his captors enter the cell, Solomon tries to explain that he's a free man. However, his captors have no plans of acknowledging his claims, despite it being true.
Free? You think you're a free man? This is God's country. You ain't free.
They simply say he's nothing more but a runaway N-word from Georgia. His captors then give Solomon a beating before...
I ain't gonna lie, bro. You must have been dirt poor to take this role. Because ain't no way as a white man, I ain't saying the N-word. For Nathan, especially on video and whipping black people, oh, no.
Or leaving him to curl up in pain inside the cell. Eventually, Solomon is thrown into a pen with another man named Clemens and a young boy. He discusses the situation with Clemens, who is educated and was someone else's slave prior to...
Oh, so he knows how to write.
Not long after that, a woman named Eliza and her daughter are brought to the pen, and she quickly hugs the young boy, who turns out to be her son. Although she already knows the tragedy waiting for her and her children, Eliza tries to stay strong for them. Sometime later, Solomon and the rest of the captives are chained and transported to a boat while under the cover of darkness. They're led to the ship's hold, where they are treated like cargo and crammed with others who are in the same situation as them. Solomon comes across Robert, who suggests they should fight back and take control of the ship.
Bet.
They weigh their options carefully and decide to just be cautious instead. At night,
I mean, bro, we being black, bro. We can take them. What? A couple of them gonna get shot. Either got the pew pews on them, but as long as we survive, does it matter?
ugly sailor enters the hold and wakes up Eliza so he can force himself on her.
Aw.
Robert tries to stop the man and ends up getting stabbed to death.
Oh. Bumbleclad. Like, I get it, protect people, but... my eyes would have been closed that night. Oh, thank you.
In the morning, Solomon and Clemens are tasked with throwing Robert's body off the boat. Clemens says that Robert is better off dead. When they arrive at a dock later, Clemens hears his master calling his name. Clemens scampers gratefully towards his master. He has clearly abandoned all signs of the intellect he previously showed.
Oh, damn. Like a goddamn dog. He said, Master.
Back while Solomon calls out to him.
Yeah, he one of those.
Shortly after, a trader named Freeman arrives to pick up his new slaves. He calls each one of them by their name, and when it comes to Solomon, he calls him Platt. Solomon doesn't respond to this, so Freeman slaps him in the face. He tells Solomon he should never question him again. Freeman then takes everyone to be prepped for his clients. As Freeman shows off his slaves, he pushes a hanging one aside. This bald-headed founding father looking Oz better watch himself. Ford expresses interest in Solomon and Eliza. Realizing this, Eliza begs Ford to take
Doctor Strange is in this movie? Oh, damn. Did you say the N-word?
her children with her too. Sadly, Freeman doesn't let that happen. He quickly sells her son to another client and declines Ford's offer to get Eliza's daughter as well. In the end, Ford
gonna touch
Solomon and Eliza. Distraught by their fate, Eliza has a meltdown, which disrupts the sale. Freeman immediately has her subdued and orders Solomon to play his fiddle to lighten the mood. When Ford returns to his plantation, he tells his men to give Solomon and Eliza food and rest before making them work the next day. Ford's wife learns about Eliza's circumstances and says that some food and a good night's sleep will help her forget about her children.
Yeah, and then some slavery is gonna, you know what I'm saying? She's gonna forget right about her children and that hot boiling sun picking cotton.
I ought to slap this hoe. The next day, Solomon and the new slaves are introduced to a handler named Tabitz and Ford's over Chapin. As they work, Ty Beats mockingly sings.
Yeah, he one of the ones that he gonna give you a beating for no reason. You don't give him direct eye contact and call him master. He gonna, who you think you is, boy?
The song warns everyone not to flee. He playing this role a little too well. Sometime later, Solomon and the slaves encounter a group of native people and share a
I ain't gonna lie, bro. Is it better to be a good actor in this type of movie or in this type of role? Or do you want to be a bad actor? Because you play that, you know what I'm saying? You play that race list role a little bit too good. Yeah, boy, you better not ever become famous.
Brief break with them. Solomon is then reminded of his violin after seeing one of the natives playing a stringed instrument. One day, Solomon pitches a clever plan to transport logs by the river to Ford. Tybeat says Solomon is just a ninja and not an engineer. Ford is won over by Solomon's proposition and decides to go with his plan, and it succeeds, making Tybeats eat his fucking words. Although Solomon gains the praise and respect of Ford and is celebrated by the rest of the slaves, he gains the ire of Tybeats. Humiliated that his plans worked. I'd feel humiliated too if I looked like Tybeats.
Yeah, boy, he about to get beat.
As a reward for his excellent work, Ford also gives Solomon a violin.
I'm just thinking about it. If I were a slave, this will low-key be the worst type of master. Cause I'm getting fed and whatnot, some sleep, maybe something that's not the ground. But bro's giving people a little bit too much hope. You feel what I'm saying? Giving me a violin and whatnot, but I'm still gonna have to be in the fields tomorrow. It's like, I'd rather our relationship be, you know what I'm saying, real direct. Like master and slave, you know what I'm saying? If I go wrong, you feel what I'm saying? I don't want to be confused on where I stand.
Afternoon, Eliza laments the loss of her children by their quarters.
Ah,
Solomon is concerned that it might bring trouble, so he screams at her to stop.
shut up.
Eliza criticizes Solomon for never mourning his own children, then points out how obedient he is to a slaver, but Solomon claims he's just trying to survive.
Yeah.
She says Ford knows Solomon might be a free man, but doesn't do anything about it. The statement unsettles Solomon because he has a feeling she's right. Ford's wife eventually orders their men to get rid of Eliza because she can't stand her crying.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, they're over here being nice, giving me food, but as soon as they become an inconvenience, I'm over here thinking, know what I'm saying? Like, this is a cool little, you know what I'm saying, plantation. I like it over here, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's nice and whatnot. They feed me minimal weapons, not like the last place. But, like, the niceness isn't really niceness. They're just trying to be cordial or ahead of the times, I guess. I don't know what to call it.
Meanwhile, Tybeats starts making Solomon's life difficult as revenge for humiliating him.
What I
As
do,
the
bro?
tension builds up between them, Tybeats ultimately decides to teach Solomon a lesson. However, to his surprise, Solomon fights back, grabs his whip, and gives him the most intense chiropractic adjustment of his life. It's quite a satisfying scene. Chapin arrives and Tybeats flees after declaring he will have vengeance. Before leaving to call Ford, Chapin tells Solomon not to leave the plantation because he won't be able to protect him otherwise. Sometime later, Tybeats returns with his buddies to lynch Solomon. Chapin steps in to put a stop to it and threatens to shoot Tybeats if he persists.
Told you, bro. He gonna do it all, bro. He an ancestor. Someone who wears a white hat, bro. White. One of those weird, you know what I'm saying, cape thingies. I don't know what they're called. Cowl.
Hanging Solomon, temporarily forcing Tybeats and his crew to run away. Solomon looks to Chapin for help with his situation, but he just lets him be.
Ah,
Solomon
damn.
hangs for his dear life, tiptoeing to avoid choking as best he can. The rest of the slaves slowly emerge from their huts to go about their routines. They all turn a blind eye to Solomon's
Save me,
situation,
please.
except for one woman who brings water for Solomon to drink.
Let me go.
After nearly a day of hanging for his dear life, Solomon is finally freed when Ford returns to the plantation. He drags Solomon inside the house to protect him. However, Ford realizes that his plantation is no longer safe for Solomon because Tybeats will never relinquish his right to retaliate for what happened. He tells Solomon that he'll sell him to a man named Epps. Although Epps...
Cool. Yeah. You know what would be better? If I were free. Okay. Damn, bro.
is
Let
known
me
as a
go.
brutal man,
Please.
Ford says he's the only one willing to accept Solomon due to the reputation he gained after fighting back against Tybeats. Solomon tries to explain that he's a free man, but Ford doesn't want to hear it because he's scared that such knowledge will only bring trouble for him. The way Benedict's saying the N-word has me looking at him sideways.
Yeah, bro. As a white man, bro, I would never want, if I were a white man, I would not want to be in this type of movie, no matter how broke I am.
On the day Solomon arrives at Epps' plantation,
Ooh,
he and the
Magneto.
rest of the slave listen to him read a verse from the Bible defending how slaves should be whipped.
Damn.
Epps skews the message of the Holy Book.
They're the method? They're the method to the weapon? All right. Never heard that
His claim
before.
of ownership over them. Epps over here proving that not all gingers are black. That's a TikTok reference. After a day of picking cotton, each slave on Epps' plantation is evaluated based on the weight of what they've harvested. Solomon's yield is below.
Damn, they're giving the
He ends
rankings?
up getting whipped along with other men who had poorer performance than their previous day of work. Epps'
Nah, I ain't gonna get whipped, bro. I'm in that. Ooh, I'll be the top 5 every day, but I won't be 5, 4, 3, or 2. You know what I'm saying? Again, black, athletic. I'm quick with it, too.
favorite slave on the plantation is a woman named Patsy.
Ooh,
Lashes her with praise while
Ignogia.
caressing her neck.
Yeah, bro. He one of them ones, bro. He do the master and slave role play a little bit too good. My fault. No. Bad joke, bad joke, bad joke.
Epps later disturbs his slaves' sleep late at night
Damn.
to make them entertain them with some dancing. During that time, a jealous Mrs. Epps throws a large decanter at Patsy's head.
What I
Her
do?
down. Mrs. Epps finna catch these hands. She commands Epps to get rid of Patsy and even threatens to leave him if he doesn't.
Come on. Come on. Bianca? Let's go, Bianca. Come on, Bianca. You know what I'm saying? I always got eye for one lady, but I like, you know what I'm saying? You feel what I'm saying? I'm trying to taste something new. You know, I can't have the same meal every day. Yeah, man.
Much to her dismay, Epps says he'd rather lose her first than Patsy.
Oh,
Mrs.
damn.
Epps over here realizing she's still a powerless white woman. After Patsy is dragged out of the room, Epps orders everyone to continue dancing so his mood won't be ruined. One afternoon, Mrs. Epps sends Solomon to
Solomon.
When she gives him a list, she notices him reading it. She then warns him that nothing good will come of it because they're only there to work. Sarah Paulson's acting has me fooled up because I really want to slap her. On his way to the store, Solomon decides to try running away. However, he runs into a lynching and ends up having his spirit broken after witnessing the fate of the two men being killed. As Solomon put the items Mrs. Epps ordered him to buy in a bag, a bundle of paper catches his attention. Upon returning to the plantation, Mrs. Epps asks Solomon if he ran into any trouble. And he lies. One afternoon, Epps sends Solomon to fetch Patsy from the neighboring plantation owned by a man named Shaw. Patsy is there to visit Mrs. Shaw, who used to be a slave but was raised in status after marrying Mr. Shaw. Epps is concerned that Shaw might make a move on Patsy and steal her from him. Although Solomon is in a hurry, Mrs. Shaw makes him take a break and join them for tea. When they return to Epps's plantation later, they see him intoxicated. Solomon quietly tells Patsy to keep.
Yeah, bro, he be missing his chocolate. But that's bad because she's a slave, but like, still. Hey man, say man.
Down and go to her quarters. Epps notices this and misunderstands Solomon. He becomes jealous and tries to subdue and teach him a lesson. However, Solomon avoids Epps while trying to talk him back to his senses.
Chill, man.
After a while of chasing around,
Jesus, chill, Magneto. I ain't trying to clap nothing. You feel what I'm saying? I ain't trying to do that.
Mrs. Epps steps in to voice her disapproval of Epps's obsession with Patsy, calling him a heathen and ungodly. Then later that night, Epps takes Patsy out of their quarters and forces himself on her, even choking her as he finishes. During their next late-night dance number inside the house, Mrs. Epps berates Patsy for her husband's adulterous ways. She even goes as far as to claw and wound Patsy's face.
What I do if it wasn't me? It would be someone else. God damn, not my fault. You ain't giving him the, you know what I'm saying, the sloppy toppy. Jesus Christ, get off, woman.
Tired of her circumstances, Patsy begs Solomon to end her life in exchange for a piece of jewelry.
Cool.
Much to her dismay, Solomon denies her request. One day, a plague hits Epps's cotton fields. He believes it's a plague sent by God because of his ungodly slaves. As a result, he has no choice but to rent his slaves to his acquaintance, Mr. Judge.
They be renting slaves like Airbnbs? Oh my God, bro. What? They were renting. Oh.
Before he leaves, he tells all his slaves not to bring
How much do I
to
cost?
their new temporary employer.
Like, if you're a slave for long enough, would you want to know how much you're worth? Just as a bargaining tool, just in case?
In the present, the day after Solomon gets taken advantage of by a fellow slave, he gets called by his current employer. It seems Judge knows of Solomon's musical talent and recommends him to another acquaintance looking for music for a party.
Jesus, he's just jumping across plantations.
He get to keep his earnings from the job. Some time passes, and Solomon and the rest of the slaves return to their plantation. A happy-looking Epps condescendingly welcomes them back. As Solomon walks by Patsy, she gives him a bitter look with her injured eyes. Solomon and the rest of them resume work in the cotton field. A man named Armsby joins them, but unlike the rest, he's
white
paid laborer trying to earn money to get back on his feet. By the end of the day, despite harvesting significantly less than everyone else, he doesn't get whipped like Solomon. Later that night, Armsby attends to Solomon's wounds and shares his tale. Since he seems like a kind man with sympathy, Solomon takes the risk of entrusting him to send a letter to his friend in the north. In exchange for this favor, Solomon will give all the profits of his violin-playing gig to him. Armsby swears his silence, and so Solomon hands him the money. He tells Solomon to get his letter ready in 2 days so he can mail it. Solomon writes his letter using a piece of paper he stole from the items Mrs. Epps usually sends him to procure. However, that evening, he's surprised that Epps knows his plans and realizes Armsby betrayed him. I just knew to trust that mayonnaise man. Fortunately,
oh my God, Armsby, you can't keep a secret for that.
Solomon hasn't handed over his letter to Armsby yet. He uses his things around by taking advantage of the fact that Armsby is a drunkard. Solomon successfully convinces Epps that everything is just Armsby's scheme, so he can be hired as Epps' new overseer. When he burns the letter he made that night, Solomon sees his opportunity to attain freedom vanish before his eyes. Time passes, and Solomon is assigned to help a carpenter named Bass build a gazebo on the plantation.
That's 2 videos I've seen with bro. Brad Pitt. Jesus.
Bass is from the north, and his beliefs about the slaves' treatment are the opposite of Epps's, which
Oh,
makes
he
Sully
woke.
notice him. One Sunday, Epps gets worked up after thinking that Patsy has fled after failing to find her. When Patsy returns later, she explains that she came from Shaw's plantation to get some soap because she wants to clean herself. Sadly, jealousy and rage have fully taken over Epps, and her explanation fell on deaf ears. Epps is inclined to finally give Patsy a beating, and Mrs. Epps is there to urge him. However, it seems he doesn't have the guts to do it, so he orders Solomon.
What? Look at all these slaves around the one. You know what I'm saying? I have to beat one of my own. Jeez. Like, why do they hate Solomon so much? God damn.
To do it on
What did you do?
While Solomon holds back his strength at first, he is eventually made to go all out. Unsatisfied by what's happening, Epps finally takes over and mercilessly whips Patsy. Horrified by what's happening before him, Solomon melts down and tells us that he will eventually pay for his wicked deeds. Later, the women help treat her wounds. Solomon one day finds himself alone with Bass, and he asks him where he's from. Bass says he's from Canada, and Solomon reveals all his knowledge about the place. Realizing he is no ordinary slave, Bass asks how Solomon ended up on the plantation. At first, Solomon is hesitant to tell him, but after trusting Bass and his reassurance,
I was an idiot. They told me I was going to be in a circus, gave me some food, gave me some money, and I ended up here. Dummy.
He shares it all. Bass believes his story and recognizes the injustice in the plantation. Eventually, Solomon decides to take the risk. He asks Bass to write his DM to inform his friends in Saratoga about his situation. Although he is facing immense risk himself, Bass agrees to help Solomon. Time passes on the plantation once again. Solomon is doing some Farmville by the fields when a carriage arrives. The sheriff calls out for Platt, and Solomon answers the call. When Solomon approaches him, the sheriff points out a man by the carriage and asks if he recognizes him. After closer inspection, Solomon recognizes the man as Mr. Parker, a friend of his in Saratoga. After further prodding about his identity, the sheriff acknowledges Solomon's true identity. Solomon rushes to embrace his friend. On their way to the carriage, Epps steps in to try and stop Solomon from leaving.
How do you intend? Bro, you beat me. You beat me. I'm a slave. I'm gonna go.
However, the sheriff intervenes, stating that Solomon is a free man. As Solomon is about to ride the carriage, Patsy calls to him, and he gives her one final embrace before leaving. When Solomon finally sees his family in Saratoga, the first thing he does is apologize to them for his sorry state. His daughter embraces him and introduces him to his grandchild, who shares the same name as him. Surrounded by the embrace of his family, Solomon is in tears, finally free from the nightmare he has been living. Solomon tried to take legal action against the people who put him through his ordeals. Sadly, because of the lackluster laws they had access to at
Come on, Solomon, bro. You knew what it was.
That time for his circumstances, it was unsuccessful.
God
He
damn it,
also became
Solomon.
active in the abolitionist movement, doing his best to help raise awareness about the inhumane problems they faced. The date, location, and circumstances of Solomon's death are unknown. And that's the end of the movie. A heartbreaking one. What did you guys think?
Hey, if you like this video,
Bumbleclap, bro. Thank God I don't have to go through that. Jesus Christ. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? Don't take any deal that sounds too good, bro. Jesus.